Are you a pastor looking to make an extra $500 a month or more to supplement your current ministry income? If so, it could be just as simple as renting out the things you already own. I'll show you how in this episode of the More Than a Pastor Show. Hello, my friend. Welcome to the More Than a Pastor Show. My name is Rich Avery, your host. This is where we show you how to leverage your ministry know-how into extra income outside the church through a business or side hustle that's right for you, so you can serve God and provide for your family no matter what. Hey, if you're not already a member of our private Facebook community, the More Than a Pastor community, I'd love for you to join today. It's absolutely free. Each week I share content that's not available anywhere else. You can share your feedback to episodes we share of the show. You can ask questions and share your ideas for how you want to earn extra money and get feedback and get the encouragement and support you need as you seek to launch into creative income streams to help provide more income for your family. Again, it's the More Than a Pastor community on Facebook. It's just for pastors. It's free. You can join today at morethanapastor.com/Facebook. If you're a pastor looking to make an extra $500 a month or more to supplement your current ministry income, you're going to love today's show. In just a few moments, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 ways you can earn extra money just by renting out the stuff you already own. Right now, we're facing a real challenge in our economy in America and across the world. Inflation is rising at levels that haven't been seen in over 40 years. Prices of gasoline have doubled here in America. Costs for utilities like our fuel to heat our homes or to cool our homes. Food prices on just about everything we could buy are increasing by 10%, 15%, 30% or more. And so economists say that we're experiencing what they call an inflation budget gap. Right now, the average American household, just the basics that we buy week in, week out, the basics are costing us $500 a month, more than it did a year ago. And so my question for you today is, how are you going to bridge the inflation budget gap? If your income, if your expenses are rising so much that it's like you just took a $500 a month pay cut because things are costing so much more than they did before, how are you going to bridge that gap? You know, a lot of times we think about cutting back, and that's a great first step, to spend less on fuel, to go fewer places, to spend less on groceries or other items that we normally would. Maybe we had a big plan to go on a vacation and we want to curtail that or not go so far. After all, have a staycation instead. But is there another way, instead of cutting back, or in addition to cutting back, are there ways that we can generate more income that don't take a lot of effort, that don't take a lot of time on our part, but maybe it's even by renting out the things that we already own? That's exactly what I want to talk about on this episode of the More Than a Pastor Show. You know, the economy has changed rapidly in the last 10 years or so, something called the gig economy. If you're not familiar with the term, it just means there's a explosion of temporary work. People that just want to work a gig. They want to work. They want to be like security at a concert, or they want to drive for Uber, or they want to host Airbnb guests in their home. There's all kinds of ways. There's hundreds of ways that we can gig ourselves out, ways that we can create extra income that don't mean we're like starting a formal business and we have to have set hours or set services that we provide. We can gig ourselves out in any number of ways, by teaching things that we know, by doing services for people, things like that. And today, again, with the gig economy exploding, there are dozens of apps that are available that allow us to put our services out there to connect people that have a need with people who are willing to fill that need. And so today I want to talk about 10 apps and 10 ways that you can rent out the things you already own, the things you already have in your home, and ways you can make extra money from them. Some of these are clearly ways you can make $500 or more a month. Some of them, actually, you could make $1,000 or $2,000 a month. It just all depends on how much you want to do and where you live and what are the opportunities in your area. And so my number one tip is you could rent out rooms in your home, or you could rent out your entire home using the app like Airbnb, or there's VRBO and other apps as well. But these are ways that you can take an extra room that you have and you can rent it out to someone else. Maybe it's for the night or a couple nights or even a month or more. Or what if you want to rent out your entire house? You know, a lot of times, like in my area, there's huge events that are hosted in our community. And so I know a few people that just move out of their house for a week or two, and they stay with the grandparents, or maybe they get a motel, or they go on vacation maybe, and then they're renting out their house, and the money that they're renting the house for is way more than their expenses to move out and to do something else on their own. Or it's a cool way that they can fund their vacation. They put their house up on Airbnb for a week or two or a month, and then they're gone and they're traveling. And they're making money that's funding their vacation. So Airbnb, if you've got space, if you've got a house that is conducive for that, for renting out a bedroom, or even if you want to rent out your entire house, it could be a great way to go to earn extra money. And again, I know some people making serious money. I have a relative that rents out a room in her home, and she makes great money with that on a regular basis. And she's had some repeat people that want to come back. She lives on a lake, and people want to come back and stay there, whether it's summer or winter, all times of the year. She's got people that want to come and stay there. And even this past winter, she decided she wanted to go to Florida for a couple months. She lives up north, actually in Canada, and she rented out her home for a couple weeks to another family. And she went down, and that funded her stay in Florida. But then that family was interested in staying longer in her home, and she was actually interested in staying longer in Florida. I can't say that as I would blame her. And so she was able to actually rent her house out for a couple of months to the same family. And again, that extended her stay and funded her vacation there in Florida. And it wasn't really a vacation. She can work location independent. And so she was working from there and just enjoying a wonderful change of pace and change of scenery. And so what if Airbnb could open up some opportunities for you by renting out your whole house or parts of your house to other people? Yeah, there's a hassle with that. There's things you're going to have to do to clean and declutter and provide whatever amenities you want to provide, and create a different way to do the locks or something so you can give people a code. There's all that to figure out, but it could be a great way for you to earn some awesome extra income depending on your situation. So the tip number one is to rent out a bedroom in your house or your entire house on an app like Airbnb or VRBO or something else like that. Okay, tip number two is to rent out your camper or RV. Now, I know not everyone has a camper or an RV to rent out, but if you do, how often do you use it? I know a lot of people that have an RV or camper, and they use it a couple of times a year. Sometimes they might go a year and not use it at all. What if you could turn that liability into an asset? What if you could turn that unused item that you have to pay storage on, probably, unless you've got a huge yard where you can park it, and it's collecting dust? What if you could put that to work and rent it out a couple times a year or a couple months? You could rent it by the week or by the month, and put it out there for other people to use and earn some great income on that as well. That's one thing I've really keyed in on in the last few years. How could I turn my liabilities into assets? How can I take things that are expenses and earn money from them? So Airbnb is one great way to do that, and to rent out your camper or your RV using a site like outdoorsy.com or rveasy.com. And RVeasy is spelled RVEZY. Those are two great ways that you could rent out your camper or your RV and earn extra money for your family. Okay, number three is to rent out your car or truck using an app like Turo. I have a number of friends who travel often for work or business, and they are tired of renting cars from the traditional rental agencies that you find at the airport. Sometimes it seems like by the time you get off the plane and get your luggage, and then you get to the car rental counter and you fill out the paperwork and stuff, and they're trying to upsell you on different things so they can get more money from you for the rental. And then you've got to walk like a half mile, it seems like, to get your car, and then you've got to go to the gate after you get your car, and they've got to look at your contract and your ID and all this stuff. And you can avoid all that if you use a peer-to-peer car rental app like Turo. What it is you're just renting cars from normal people that have a premium type car that you want to drive. Maybe it's a convertible or a sports car. Or what if it's just a minivan or a pickup truck? Any kind of car, any kind of vehicle is an opportunity that you would have if you have one that you want to rent out. Obviously, you've got to keep it clean and looking great and smelling great and keep it washed and all that. But some people are making some great money, $500 a month or more, just by renting out their car or truck. Maybe they've got a truck or a car that they hardly use. Maybe now you've had two cars, but now with COVID, one of you is working from home or both, and so you don't need the car as much. Could be a great way to rent it out and earn some extra money. Maybe you just do it a couple days a week. Maybe it's a week or more, but it could be an awesome way. You can earn extra money just by using the vehicle that you already have. So opportunity number 3 is to rent out your car or truck with an app like Turo. Number 4 is to rent out your bicycle on an app called Spinlister. So a couple of years ago, I was in the market for a new bike. I had a bike for a number of years, and then I let one of my kids ride it. And then he loved it so much that it became his bike. And then for a couple of years, I didn't have one. So then I actually borrowed one of my other kids' bikes because he didn't ride it very much because of his work schedule and stuff. So I was always asking him, can I borrow his bike? Anyway, a year ago, I was able to buy a bike. I tried first in 2020, early in the pandemic, but there were no bikes available. I don't know if you tried that in your area, but it seemed like during COVID, everybody wanted a bike. And everybody wanted a dog also. And so it was hard to find both. And in that year, we needed both. We needed a dog and a bike. And so in 2021, I was finally able to find a bicycle that I wanted. But, to be honest, I ride it a couple times a week for exercise, but there are days I don't ride it at all. And so I discovered this app called Spinlister. And it's a way that you can rent out your bike and allow others to rent it. Maybe they're just touring. They're in town. They're on vacation, and they want to rent a bike. And sometimes it's hard to find bike rental places, or they have certain hours that just don't work for you when you're arriving and want to ride a bike. And now there are bike share places or bike share services in some communities where you can rent a bike by the hour, maybe to go on a trip somewhere. But if you want to ride a bike all day, man, it's going to cost you a fortune if you rent from one of these bike by the hour places. And so Spinlister is a great way that you can rent out your bike, and others can look for your bike and want to rent it and be able to ride it. Maybe you want to rent it out for $40 for a day. Maybe you want to rent it out for like $250 for the week. I mean, you could make some great money by just renting out something you already have, something that you're not using right now, your bike that is sitting in your garage. So look at this app called Spinlister, see if renting a bicycle out could be right for you. Okay, number 5. Boy, this is something I just read about, and it really intrigued me. And I mean, it's a great idea. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before, but I'm glad somebody did. And it's to rent out your yard or garden for like a community garden. And so there's an app called sharedearth.com. And on this app, if you've got a large piece of land and maybe it could be good for gardening, but you don't want to do the work of gardening, you might list it at sharedearth.com, and someone else who would love to garden, but they don't have the land, will match up with you. And you can have a contract where you can share the proceeds of the garden. Sometimes people do like a 50-50 share. I make my yard available, you come and garden it, and we share the produce. Other times, maybe it's not quite that way. Maybe it's 70-30. You can decide what's right for you. But sharedearth.com is a real unique way to make unused yard space available or unused garden space available for others in your community to be able to use those spaces for their own gardens, and you can reap some benefits from that as well. In our community, there are a couple of places where they have community gardens where you can pay like $50 for a year or something like that, and you can get a plot of land and have your garden there. Some of those, though, have been vandalized, or people just come and steal the stuff because like they're unsupervised, they're in a community, like a empty lot in a neighborhood, that kind of a thing, and so no one's watching it and keeping their eye on it. So this could be a great way to go if you've got that going in your community, to have a garden in someone's yard where like they're going to be home and they're watching it, and people will be less likely to want to vandalize or disturb that. So check that out, sharedearth.com. See if renting out your yard or garden could be right for you. Okay, number 6. If you have an awesome kitchen and dining area, maybe Joanna Gaines has been at your house recently to do a renovation, you can rent that out and have a professional cook come and cook for his clients or her clients there in your home, and you could reap some great benefits from that. There's a website or an app called cozymeal.com, and through Cozy Meal, people can look for a chef to do a professional meal. Maybe they want to host a birthday party or an anniversary dinner or a get-together or a company Christmas party, and you want to have like an awesome chef in your community come and do a great meal for like 10 or 15 or 20 people. But you don't have the space to host them in your house. Well, you could use Cozy Meal to hire the chef and to find a awesome place, a venue where this event could be hosted. And so now if you do have an amazing kitchen and dining area, then you could list your home as a venue on Cozy Meal, and then the chefs and the clients will rent from you and come and do their event at your place. So you're hosting the event, but you're not doing any of the work really. Yes, you got to clean your house and get it ready and all that, but here's a way for you to host an event. Maybe you have an opportunity to meet the people even as well, or maybe you want to leave the house during that time. It's up to you, but cozymeal.com can be a great way if you've got an awesome kitchen and dining area to list that as a venue and to earn money from, again, something you already have in your house, your kitchen, your dining room. Number 7 is to rent out your swimming pool, or if you've got an awesome sports court or even a home gym, you can rent it out on an app called Swimply.com. Swimply lets you rent out your pool in other spaces to other people who would want to use them by the hour. It began with listing just for swimming pools, and now it's expanded beyond that too. Like if you've got a home court, like a sports court, a tennis court, or pickleball or volleyball, you could rent that out for other people to take advantage and be able to use that, and you could make some great income. Again, swimming pools are something that are awesome. In some ways, people desire them, they want them, but then they hardly use them sometimes, and it sits vacant for a long time. So with an app like Swimply, you can put your swimming pool to work for you. You can at least recoup your costs for the maintenance and the chemicals and all that each year, but some people are making $1,000, $1,500 a month by renting out their pool by the hour or by the half day or by the day. Interestingly, you don't have to be home. Some people do choose to be home when they rent it out, but others just have a way that people can come around the back or through the garage or something and use the pool even when you're not home. And you can set the parameters or the rules for what kind of events you want to happen in your pool, whether you want to allow parties or not. And you could provide amenities. You can make extra money by providing towels or pool toys or a barbecue grill, things like that. So if you've got an awesome oasis in your backyard, if you're hardly using it or hardly home, or if you just want to put that to work and earn some extra money, using an app like Swimply can really help you to make some great money by renting out your pool, your sports court, your home gym even, things like that. Could be a great way to earn some extra money. Okay, number 8 is to create a dog park in your yard. If you've got a nice size yard and if it's fenced in, you can use an app like sniffspot.com. And SniffSpot is a great way for dog owners to be able to find a safe place for their dogs to go off leash and to play. Now, there are several dog parks in our area, and we are members of one. We pay like $40 a year, I think, and we have to file all this paperwork to show that the dog has had their shots and all that. And the dog park is a lot of fun most of the time, but to be honest, I've been bit or nipped the last 3 times I've taken my dog to this dog park. And most of the time, all the dogs are awesome. But there's this one dog, and it's a little out of control. This dog, actually, the owner says this dog opens windows and gets out of their house all the time. It's, I don't know, like a husky type dog. Pretty big sized dog. Our dog's quite a bit smaller. We've got a miniature pinscher. But this dog, when this dog sees me, like if we're at the dog park first and then this dog comes and sees me, it comes and like jumps up and gets me on the elbow each time. And I was just there Friday, or maybe it was Thursday last week, and this dog did it again. Back maybe about 3 months ago when we were in sweatshirt weather still here in Michigan, the dog actually tore a hole in my sweatshirt when it latched onto my elbow. Now, I know I can probably like complain to the city that owns the dog park and have that dog banned. I didn't want to do that, but here's this app like Sniff Spot, where if you don't want to go to the dog park, maybe your dog isn't great around other dogs, or maybe you don't want to, risk getting fleas or ticks from other dogs or something, or maybe there's no dog park in your area and you don't have a good yard where your dog can go off leash. Sniffspot.com can be a great way for people to find yards where they can take their dog and the dog can play and have a good time, and the homeowner makes some extra money. And so if you've got a nice sized yard, if it's fenced in or you can create a fenced in space, if there's no dog park in your community, man, that could be a great way to earn extra money. And again, you don't have to be there at that time. People can book an hour or a couple hours, however that works, and you can earn the money. You can provide dog bags, or they got to bring their own bags to clean up after the dog. You set the parameters, but Sniff Spot, if you've got the yard, could be a great way for you to earn extra money and maybe even meet some people and do some outreach as well. One of the things I like about the dog park is I get to know the dog moms and dog dads there, and it's often the same people. If you come at the same time, then you get to see often the same people. And that's what I've really loved about that, but I haven't loved getting bit by this other dog. So if you've got a big space like that, look into sniffspot.com. They say some owners make up to $1,500 a month. I don't know about you, that's some real money to me. And so if I had a bigger yard, I would be doing Sniff Spot. Number 9, if you've got some awesome tools or equipment or like a flatbed or a cargo trailer, you can rent those things out on an app called Clink. Clinkit.app is where you go to find that. That's CLINKIT.app. Clinkit.app. That's a great way where you can rent out some really cool power equipment, like if you're in the construction industry or you've got trailers, things like that are just sitting around or that are hardly being used. You can rent that out on Clinkit, and people can come and pay some good money to rent those things from you. I've got a couple of boys that are in the trades business, and when they work their regular jobs, obviously tools and things are provided for them. Some they may have to buy on their own, others provided by the employer. But if they want to try to do side jobs in the evenings or something like that, then they basically have to go and rent the stuff they don't have. And so I'm going to tell them about Clink and the Clinkit app, where they can go and rent supplies that they need. With Turo, they could rent a pickup truck if they needed that. With Clink, they could rent a trailer or some tools and do that side job on that weekend or evening when they wanted to. So if you've got that kind of stuff, you can put that up on that app and make some good extra money, just, again, renting out stuff you already own. Okay, number 10, maybe you've got other stuff. So this is what I'm calling like a DIY rental. Maybe you've got other things in your house that you think someone might want to borrow this or rent this at some point. Then put it out there. And if there's not a specific app like the ones I've shared today, there's Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Kijiji. There's any number of other places, or just a community bulletin board, like at your local hardware store or the grocery store or the community center. There's lots of online and offline places where you could promote or advertise that you have things available. You could just put out that your lawnmower is available. I use my lawnmower a half an hour a week. Would it benefit me if I could make some extra money by renting it out to other people? And yeah, there are places like our local hardware store. They rent out a few lawnmowers, but the last couple of times I've been there, I should say earlier in the spring, people were wanting to go and get their lawnmowers tuned up or their blades sharpened, and it was like a 2 week or more wait to get that. And so I overheard a couple of people say, "Hey, can I rent a lawnmower?" And then their rental lawnmowers were already taken. And so I thought, man, I could rent out my lawnmower. That'd be pretty good. I've already got it. It's not going to hurt me to rent it out to somebody. I can get their information, know where they live and all that. And I actually have an electric mower, so it doesn't even you don't have to worry about gasoline or mixing gas and oil or whatever. I'll just charge the battery and they go and they use it and bring it back, and then I recharge the battery. So do you have a lawnmower? Do you have other tools or things sitting around the house? Years ago, we had a popcorn popper that was like a commercial kind that you might see in like an old, movie theater, something like that. And so we loved to make popcorn. We ended up giving it to our church at some point years ago. But I thought, man, if I still had that popcorn popper today, do you know how much it costs to rent those things out? I could have kept that and made money renting it out. Yeah, there would be like a cleaning factor and things like that. But people are always looking to rent out popcorn machines or bounce houses or snow cone machines or things like that. So not saying you have to go out and start a whole rental business. But if you've got one of those things, if you bought it for yourself or for your family party one time, could you put it out there and just let people know it's available and maybe make some money renting from it? So number 10 is a DIY rental by thinking about what other things do you have that you're hardly using or not using at all. And what if you rented those out and could make a recurring income on whatever frequency? Maybe you've got a daily or weekly or monthly opportunities to rent some of those things out. Now, I want to share a pro tip before we close, and that is to check with your insurance agent before you begin to look at renting anything out. Some of these apps like with Turo or Outdoorsy or Swimply, some of them provide insurance for you as the person doing the renting. They provide insurance for you so that if there's a liability, if there's damage to your equipment or your vehicle, or if someone's injured in the use of it, then you're covered. But sometimes if you have a personal insurance policy, sometimes those policies say that they're voided if you rent them out, if you rent these things out, or if an incident happens outside of your use of it. So check with your insurance agent. That's my big disclaimer here, just to learn how you can. And don't say like, oh, okay, they say no, I can't do it, so take no for an answer. If you want to pursue that, well, get a different insurance company. There are other insurance companies that are well aware of the fact that people want to use their stuff to earn extra money. Like some people want to drive their car for Uber. And so now there are some auto insurance companies that say, okay, we're going to provide a rider on your policy for that, or to say that that's okay. Some still don't, but do your due diligence to make sure that you are covered and for liability or for injury if someone is hurt by using your stuff. A few years ago, a very large house in our neighborhood went on the market. It was for sale. My wife and I had walked by it hundreds of times. We walk by it when we go for a walk with our kids or go for bike rides with our kids on a regular basis. And so we have always admired this house. It's huge. It's up on like a hill or a cliff that looks over a creek, and the garden, the yard is lush. There's these huge trees around it. The house is huge. It looks kind of like a southern plantation house, but we live in Michigan, and then it's got a big garage that was added that was attached to it. So we could just imagine how this would have been an awesome house for our young family back when the kids were obviously younger. Now they are teenagers and young adults, so the house, and most of them are out of the house now, so this is not a practical house for us today. But back 15 years ago, this would have been a great house for our family. But we always wondered, how many bedrooms are in that house, and what does it look like on the inside? Well, when it went on the market 2 years ago, we could take a look online by doing like a virtual tour, and we could see all the bedrooms and the amazing kitchen and the dining area, and everything was just gorgeous. And I think it had like 7 bedrooms. It was just a huge house, way more than we would need today. But I began to dream about that house. And it was also way more expensive than we could ever afford. It was probably 3 times, maybe almost 4 times more than what we would feel comfortable paying for a house. It was well out of our reach. But I began to think, well, how could we buy this house? How could we make the use of the space? And so I started thinking about, well, could we rent out, 4 bedrooms on a regular basis, like on Airbnb? And yeah, it would mean that we would have guests in our house on a regular basis, but we've also talked about wanting to have guests in our house more on a regular basis and be able to be hospitable hosts and be able to have a guest room for people to come stay with us from time to time. So we began to think, okay, maybe that could be an option for us. And then I started to think, well, okay, I'm a pastor, so are there any ways I could create extra income for this through the ministry? And I began to think about, what about creating like an internship or residency program where maybe college interns, like over a summer, or maybe even they were residents, they've already graduated, but they want to get real world experience. What if they came and lived at our place and they paid us like $500 a month for the privilege of living with us, or maybe more? But we created like a program where we mentored, discipled, helped equip them for ministry, gave them real church experience in the church, things like that. But it was a program that we would create. And so I thought, okay, that could be a way to earn extra money. Another opportunity that I heard about, we have friends who are missionaries in Africa, and they are originally from our church, from our community. And they've been there maybe 5 years or so. And then their son wanted to come back to the United States to go to university. And but before he did that, they found a program where he and a few other missionary kids just like him lived with another family like for a year, just to kind of re-enter life in America, because it's been different over the last 5 years. It was different than what it was when they left America to go to Africa. And then, of course, life in Africa, where they are, was at a radically different pace than life is back in America. So there was like this re-entry program for missionary kids. And we thought that could be another idea too. We could get this big house, these bedrooms, and again, people are paying for this program to take advantage of that, and we're earning extra money. So I share this today just to plant a seed or to ask a question for you. Are there ways that you can turn your expenses or your liabilities into assets and income? Are there ways in your household that you can take things that you have or that you'd like to have and be able to fund them, to pay for them, because you're renting them out, you're creating income from them? I think that is just something that's amazing now for our gig economy today. And it could be a way for us to get a swimming pool that we've always wanted, or to remodel our kitchen, or to upgrade our car. If we could look at how can we turn these into a business, how can we turn these into income and not just expenses that we're paying for month after month after month? I don't know what that looks like for you, or what that means to you, but I'd love to get your feedback on that. And of any of the ideas I've shared today, is there one that sounds good to you that you want to try? Or is there something else that maybe this has triggered that you want to try? I'd love to get your feedback on that. You can send me an email at rich@morethanapastor.com. Okay, that's it for today's show. Was it helpful? Also, are there other topics you'd like me to cover in a future episode of the show? If so, please let me know. And lastly, could you do me a favor and review this episode, or subscribe if you haven't already done that yet, or share it with someone else that might benefit from it? That's a great way to help me get the word out about the show and help to grow our audience. Lastly, I'd love to remind you before we go that you are more than a pastor. And saying yes to God's call doesn't mean you have to say yes to being stuck, broke, or unfulfilled in your life and ministry. Let's work together and help you create the life, impact, and income that you were made for.